Hello, friends and followers. Good morning. This is Nurses Talking. I am Dale Barzy. As always, give us a like, subscribe if you like what you see and hear. Today, my guest is Ms. Brenda Daly. Ms. Brenda Daly is a registered nurse. She works in Montserrat in the Caribbean. She's a nurse anesthetist. She's president of the Montserrat Nurses Association. She's also president of Helping Hands for Glendon, which is something she will explain. She's president of the Pink Ribbon Society and the Church Women's Group, a very busy young lady. So welcome, Brenda.
Good morning,
How
and
are
thank
you?
you. Thank you for having me. I'm fine. I'm feeling wonderful, excellent today.
Okay. And I know that you're in the sun and in the warmth. I kind of envy you.
Exactly. Yes, nice cool sea breezes coming through.
Uh-huh.
And today's a cool day, so it's
Okay.
not too hot.
Okay.
And it's just nice Caribbean sunshine and cool sea breeze.
Excellent. 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 So we're here to talk nursing. And of course, I want to know what or who inspired you to become a nurse?
Okay, that's a nice and interesting question. But let me take you back to my formative years.
Okay.
I started nursing in 1993, but when I set out to become a nurse, that wasn't what I really wanted to be honest. I wanted to be a journalist.
Okay.
It just didn't work out that way. And so I think that my journey into nursing and throughout the course of my nursing career has been God's will for me,
Okay.
right? Because when I started as a student nurse, when I left school and trying to get a job, you applied, you applied, and the thing that they would tell you is that you don't have any experience, so we can't hire you.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And you make many attempts, and then my final attempt was nursing.
Okay.
And so here I am today.
And it took you on this road.
Yes.
So in the 1990s, you said you started nursing. In that time, what was required for you to enter nursing school at that time?
Okay, you needed at least, I think it was 4 or 5 levels, um, one of which must be a science subject.
Mhm.
And I could remember when I was going to school also, at that time when I was going to school, I didn't get an opportunity to be taken to career fields and career day. So, but I remember my mom said to me, when you're selecting subjects at the Montessori Secondary School, select a science subject. I don't know why she thought I should do that. So I selected biology. That was my science subject. And I did a number of other subjects. And my favorite subject at school was history. I love history. But she said to me, select a science subject. So that's why I say, in everything that I'm doing, God must have a plan for me.
Mhm.
So that was what was required, at least a science subject, with along with your, it's as part of your levels that you would have.
Okay.
And so the program, my registered nurse program was 3 years. You had 3 months of being in the classroom, first of all. That was, just getting to know about nursing and all of that.
Basic
And
subject.
then you got to it was an apprenticeship system where you would go to your classroom, do your class, your theory, and then you also worked on the wards to get your practical experience. So that to me was really good because it strengthened program, it strengthened you as a person. And so you're able to, when you come time to do your exams, because now you have the practical experience and the real life experience. So when you're just not just seeing things through like, today I think they use like mannequins and stuff like
Yes.
that. You're actually working with real people. In my time, there was no mannequin, actual. So it was real life experience. So it was quite interesting back then. I think I like
Okay.
in that way.
Excellent. Excellent. So Now, what areas of nursing have you worked in?
Okay, so let's go back. 1993, I started my nursing program as a student nurse. I completed my program in 1996 in Jamaica, in Montserrat.
Mhm.
I had to go to Jamaica in 1996, I think around just before we did our final exam, which was, you had to do a Caribbean exam, which was called the regional exam.
Okay.
And also you would do your local exam as well. But I was able to go to Jamaica as a student nurse for 2 months. And the experience was excellent because they would tell you when we were doing our training, there are some things you will see in the textbook, but you will never see in real life. Going to Jamaica, you're able to experience some of those textbook experiences.
Yeah.
And so I did register nursing. Then while I was doing my training, the volcano erupted. So I started in Plymouth, um, at the Glendon Hospital in Plymouth, which was at the time housed in the nursing hostel because the hospital then was destroyed by Hurricane Hugo.
Mm-hmm.
And so the hospital had to be in temporary housing in the nurses' hostel. And that's where we started our training. And then we had to evacuate to the northern side of the island to the St. John's Primary School.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had that experience of moving and to work in a makeshift hospital now because when we moved to the northern side around 1996, when the volcano started erupting in 95, and in 1996 the hospital had to be permanently moved to the north. So the operating theater, think about it, was in the St. John's, I think it was the St. John's Clinic, right? Now it's the Environmental Health Building, but the St. John's Clinic at the time was what housed our operating theater. So when you have surgery, you had to be transported via ambulance to back and forth. So can you imagine how that was? And then yes, so it was challenging times back then. But we worked through it all, and I was successful in my exam in October of 1996. Then in that was so my set of students at that time was the last set that was trained under the apprenticeship system in Montserrat, right? So after that, there were no more student training, nurses student training locally. So when training began again for nurses, my next training was in Antigua at the Antigua State College. That's where I did midwifery. My midwifery program was done in Antigua at Halberton Hospital and the Antigua State College. So I got a diploma in midwifery, and that was around, and it was a 15-month program, which took me from 2001 into January of 2003. And so I completed that successfully. The Antigua experience was a good one.
Yeah.
And it was good for me too because Antigua is just next door.
Exactly.
At the time, we had helicopter service and ferry, right? The ferry service. And at the time, the government would give a round trip ticket at $75 for the weekend. So I had my son at that time. My son was about 3 years old. So I would, on some weekends, I would just head over to Montserrat on the ferry for the weekend and be back in Antigua by a helicopter, which would land in time before 8 o'clock, because classes begin at 8 o'clock. So I'll be back in Antigua before 8 o'clock to begin my classes. So for me, the experience of doing my program in Antigua was a good one because people hardly miss me out of Montserrat because I was in Montserrat so often because of the opportunity of only having to pay $75 round trip on the weekend. And to be able to get back into Antigua, sometimes by helicopter service, and I found it was good at that time. And the experience too in terms of how you manage as a nurse midwife independently was a really good experience.
Yes.
I had in Antigua. Then in 2004 now,
Uh-huh.
So I completed that in 2003. And back then, too, after I came back from Antigua, Antigua was a really busy place in terms of delivering babies and so on. You had to
Okay.
do at least 60 deliveries to complete, but I went beyond 60. I sure was past over 100
Mm-hmm.
while, while I was doing the program. When I came back to Montserrat, nothing slow. It took me almost 3 months before I could get my first delivery. So you can imagine how I feel. I came from a place of heightened activity.
Yes.
There was no time at all that I went to work. Sometimes in one day, I would get one afternoon, I would get 3 deliveries.
Yes.
And when you're trying to get your cases,
Yes, indeed.
I come back to Montserrat. It took me almost 3 months to get one. And so by the following year, I went on to do anesthesia in Jamaica. There's anesthesia program. But again, I'll tell you a story about that.
Uh-huh.
So anesthesia was my next calling by God, I must say, because it's not something I set out to do or wanted to even do.
Okay.
Because I look at anesthesia as a challenging area of nursing. Now, after I got into nursing fully, I started looking around to see what other areas of nursing I would want to get myself into because, I didn't want to be always at the bedside. I wanted to do something else. After a time, I started to get the hunger
Yeah.
for wanting to do something different. Because as a young person, you can't remain stagnant. You want to be able to constantly be moving, constantly learning.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why I wanted to do journalism because when I was going to school, I was always reading. I would be always reading a book, the newspaper, listening to the news, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I was always into regional, international affairs. I always wanted something more. And so, but I didn't want to do anesthesia because, well, looking back at my student years, and I look back, you had a register to show you what you used to do when you're in theater.
Yeah.
And when I look back, I was always on the anesthetic end. I was never placed to scrub. It's either flow and circulating, but majority of the times I was asked to, I was assigned to the operating suite. It was always at the anesthetic end with Dr. Perkins, Dr. Franklin Perkins, because he was our anesthesiologist for many, many years. And I used to look at, what he was doing, and I used to say to myself, my goodness, I don't know if I wanted to do that because to me, you have to be really focused at what you're doing, and there is no place for error
All right.
when you're looking at delivering anesthesia to a person. So I wanted something more easier. So what I thought was easier was a family nurse practitioner. That's what I wanted to do because you take me out of the hospital setting and you place me one-on-one with clients, with
Yeah.
patients, kind of stuff. That's what I thought. And one day, nurse came to say, Brenda, we need someone to go to Jamaica to study for anesthesia, and I think you would be a good choice. So I said, me? I said, yeah, I don't think so. She told me, think about it. So I thought about it. I went home and I spoke to my mom at the time, and she said to me, opportunities pass, never regain. So what harm could come from you trying this?
Yeah.
I said, oh, I don't know. So at the time, Mrs. Almio Garro,
Mm-hmm.
she was our nurse anesthetist before, but she had moved on into health promotion.
Okay.
So she was no longer delivering anesthesia. She was doing health promotion, but she was around, and I said, let me go and speak to her, see what she thinks. What advice would she give me? To find a book for it. You would make a good nurse anesthetist. And I said, why? What do you see in me?
That.
She said, you have the qualities. They're like, you're somebody who seems calm, quiet, and that's the kind of person you would want in such a field. So I said, all right, let me pray about it then. Because if this is what God wants for me, then obviously He's going to make the way
Yeah.
possible. So I went back to Nurse Stanley and I said, okay, give me the application forms. And I made the application and I put it out of my mind. I didn't think about it because I said, you know what, I don't want this for me. But in a little while, it took some time before I got a response back from Jamaica, and they responded and said, you are accepted for the program. I said, what? So then I said, okay. And it was one of those programs, because it was a scholarship that the government of Montreal offered.
Okay.
It was a very good scholarship. I did not have to be fighting to get the money. I didn't have to do much. It became so easy. The access to get to Jamaica was easy. Times you apply for a scholarship and you have to so much red tape, so much things, so much, but it was nothing like that.
Okay.
I was actually sponsored by the government of Montreal and BFID at the time. One of the things in the program was an international conference to an international country. Now we have the International Conference of Nurse Anesthetists.
Okay.
To go to that cost about $2,000. I put that on the paper when I expected to go, and I was able to go. I was fully sponsored by the government of Montreal to attend the conference.
Yeah.
It was a really good conference, which I enjoyed. And that conference was in my second year, or my third year of being in the program, because the program started in 2004, and I completed it in 2007.
Okay.
And the program was, it was really good. It was challenging.
Yeah.
At times I thought I wasn't going to make it, but God knew His plan for me, and so it was. When I really got going into it, it was like a breeze. It was very easy.
Yeah.
But it brought to me a lot of experiences. It helped me to grow and become stronger as a mature nurse. I became mature into nursing.
Yeah.
From doing the anesthetic program, the anesthesia program. In Jamaica, you were able to go to a number of different hospitals. The program was at the Kingston Public Hospital, KPH. That was where the training was actually done.
Yeah.
Along with two universities, University of Technology, where we had to do our science subjects. But you had to be able to do the first 6 months of the program, you do sciences like your physics and chemistry. So those are things I avoided at school.
Yeah.
Them, but they seem too hard. Not knowing that in my career of nursing, they would come right back at me.
You see?
I avoided those. I did a little bit of chemistry at school, a little bit of physics, but I told myself, So the only science subject I really paid attention to was biology. Right, because biology for me wasn't that hard. But physics and chemistry, and I said, look at this. I have to get back into knowing about physics and chemistry and all of those things. And so you had to be able to pass that first 6 months before you could have continued the program. So once you were able to manage and be able to become successful in the science subjects, those science subjects, then the rest of the program, and then you have to do physiology, anatomy and physiology.
Yeah.
We did know that the University of the West Indies, they provided that aspect for us in the program. Well, those you continue practically almost throughout the entire program. They started you in the beginning, but those were courses because you had to do a lot of physiology and anatomy. You had to know a lot, just like the doctors would need to know.
Yeah.
So it's like almost like a crash course in medicine, but at a more in-depth field. So it taught me a lot, and then I was able to go to different hospitals to work across Jamaica. So I did a stint at the KPH, at University Hospital, at Spanish Town Hospital, at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, that's in Montego Bay, and at Mandeville Hospital, Mandeville Regional Hospital. But of all of them, I preferred Mandeville. I like Mandeville. But the experiences and the Bustamante Children's Hospital, not sure if I mentioned that, and the National Chest. So I got a wide range of experiences And then I was able to come across hospitals which were closely similar to our hospital in Montserrat, similar patient types and
Yeah.
settings. And so when I found the one that was more similar to Montserrat, I asked them in my internship period to be able to work, have some more work experience at that particular hospital, because I knew that was coming back to deal with in terms of being on call.
Yeah.
Because in Montserrat, now after I came home, is that we do, before pre-volcano, we did 2 surgeries a day per week. Since volcanic activity started, and until now, we do only 1 surgery day per week, along with being on call. So you're home and an emergency arises in the middle of the night, you're called out. So you get up and work.
Yeah.
So it was similar like that at the Mandeville Regional Hospital. They work 8 to 4, but it's more work because it's every day to do surgery, unlike Montserrat. But you have an on-call period from 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So the nurse anesthetist will go home when an emergency arises, then you're called out. And so I adapted that. The hospital I choose back then.
So, so that you did so many different hospitals. What I kind of wondering, what was the purpose of it? Was the clientele in each one so vastly different that you had to do that many, that they wanted you to experience that?
They wanted you to get a wide experience of different things. And I found in some hospitals you get a lot of challenges, and certain hospitals you will get different level and line of work. Okay, like for instance, the Kingston Public Hospital, you would call it Trauma Center of the Caribbean.
Okay.
Right? Reason being, you get all the gunshots comes to Kingston Public Hospital.
Okay.
Downtown Kingston. So if a person have gunshots, you go in there. You have like mass casualty, because there are times when I had my experience where you had mass casualty where a bus turned over on the Spanish Town Road.
Okay.
All those trauma cases, I was able to experience that. So it brings with it, and also at Kingston Public Hospital, we also have the Victoria Jubilee Hospital, which is the only obstetric hospital in the Caribbean. So you get to experience full maternity care, full obstetric, midwifery, anesthesia. Then you also have the children's hospital, because children are not seen at those other hospitals. Like, when you have children cases, you have to go to Bustamante Hospital. Some hospitals may do some children, but depending on the case, they all come to the Bustamante Children's Hospital in Kingston.
Okay.
You're able to get in terms of how you do children, pediatric anesthesia.
Understood.
You get that experience. And then at the University Hospital, that is another teaching hospital now, where you certain interesting cases, because there are some cases that I would have read about in the textbook.
Yeah.
And there are rare cases, and I was able to experience those being done at the University Hospital. You don't see them elsewhere, because once they diagnose that particular person, because they do medevacs from different hospitals as well.
Okay.
Into Kingston, whether it's the Kingston Public Hospital or the University Hospital. So, and you get the country experience also. So you have the national chest that deals mainly chest surgeries.
Okay.
And the national chest, you deal with surgeries relating thoracotomy, anything to do with the chest.
Yes.
So you to experience that type of experience. So he was able to give you the nurse, because for me now, coming back to Montserrat, I am the only nurse anesthetist with the anesthesiologist. I am practically at times on my own to deliver anesthesia care. So with that wide and vast experience, you need all of that knowledge, all of that experience.
I see that.
To deliver the optimum care to
I see that. I see that.
And anesthesia is not just an operating theater. You have to be able to deal with the emergencies when they come to the emergency room with the casualty. I've intubated persons in casualty. There's no anesthesiologist. I'm doing it. I have to do it. I can't wait on the anesthesiologist to come from Salem to St. John's Hospital. He might be out there because at the time the PMO was the anesthetist. So he has to be doing his job over there. So an emergency arrives, I am there at the hospital and I deal with the patient. I have intubated persons on the ward because I cannot wait for the anesthetist to come to do that. I am there, I have the skills. So that is what it does for me. It provides me a wide variety of skill sets and experiences. So for me, it was good. And if I have to do it again, I would go back to Jamaica and have that experience.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really really an interesting and very wide range of things that you do. As a nurse anesthetist, and a whole great responsibility too.
Yes, it is.
Great responsibility.
It is. But things have improved since then because you have the anesthetist now that just does anesthesia, just focus on anesthesia care at our hospital. So the anesthetist now doesn't have to go to the district hospital to do district medical officer duty and still be anesthesiologist at the hospital.
Okay.
You have the more focus on your intensive care and your critical care.
Yeah.
And, so we work together in combination. It's not me against the anesthetist or the anesthetist working on her own. She works on her own, yes, when the need arises, but we are there as a team. So it's a team effort, a teamwork, which, because for me, anesthesia in the whole of the medical field is one of those fields that, I mean, the surgeon cannot work without the anesthesiologist or anesthesia, cannot. So even if she wants to do surgery, you must have that aspect of nursing or medicine has to be there for anything to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I find that it's really a field that. So after now I really got into it and I'm into it. It is a field of nursing that I, have come to like and to enjoy. Once I'm into it, I'm into it.
Yeah, you're totally focused.
Focus. So that's why I said it gave me a level of maturity different to doing other aspects of nursing or medicine.
Okay.
This area itself.
All right. Awesome. You almost make me want to be an anesthetist, which is not really up my field, I have to tell you. So I see that in addition to all of this intense anesthetist thing that you do, you have other things. Tell me about Helping Hands for Glendon.
Okay, so Helping Hands for Glendon is what are the other extracurricular activities I get myself into? So I love Montserrat. I could have, when I finished my nurse training, I had opportunities to go on to the United Kingdom to live and work, especially during the height of the volcanic crisis. Everybody was leaving, everybody was going to some other island in the Caribbean or to the United Kingdom or the West. I chose to stay in Montserrat. And even when I was in Jamaica studying, one day I was on the bus and this guy sat beside me, and I don't know, I didn't have on a nursing uniform, but for some reason, he looked at me and thought I was a nurse. And so conversation come about migrating to the US. And I said to him, no. And he couldn't understand why, because most times nurses in Jamaica would be heading for that opportunity.
Okay.
I said no. Eventually I told him I'm not from Jamaica. I am from Montserrat and I'm here to fulfill a purpose, and I'm going back to Montserrat to fulfill that purpose and to give back to my community, to my country. So I press on. And so I'm here because I'm so Helping Hands for Glendon, and also a member of the Pink Ribbon Charity. All of these are help, has something to do with healthcare. So Helping Hands for Glennon came about intervening last year, February. And so this year, February, made us 1 year as an organization. And it is about working on getting our Glennon Hospital, our only hospital in Montserrat, equipped, meaning that to have the best of healthcare to provide and to give to our people. And one of the ways of doing that is to ensure that we have the necessary equipment that we need. I mean, the government of Montserrat is trying their very best to procure those equipment as well. But I myself do not think that everything should be solely on government to do. I think when you're building a nation or you're building a country, it has to also do with people, because we are the ones who are going to be the beneficiaries of whatever is being provided for us. So whether it's equipment, whether it's training, because Helping Hands for Glendon, yes, it's about procuring equipment, but it's also about training as well. So that's one of the drives that we will be focusing on as well, because it doesn't make sense to buy all this fancy equipment, but then there's no one to use them.
Yeah, yeah.
You also have to look at the aspect of training for persons to be able to be trained to use these equipment. And, also we're going to be getting a new hospital soon, and I'm praying that that will happen. So when that new hospital comes on board, we need equipment to go in there. So what two equipment that the island needs are CT scan machine, because most of our medivacs that we send persons to Antigua for is to do a CT scan, a brain scan.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the fact that you get a head injury. There are persons who get strokes, and doctors need to make diagnosis and make the diagnosis now
Quickly.
in order for the patient to have that better chance of survival.
Yeah.
And be able to live, a good, normal, healthy life. And with time passing, with time is of the essence. And for doctor not being able to diagnose within a short period of time and be able to start treatment, I find it's difficult. It's not really good for patients. So this is one of the areas that we really need as a nation to really have, one of the equipment that we need to have. The other one is the mammogram machine. We don't have a mammogram machine in Montserrat. And so women, and that's why the Pink Ribbon Charity came about, in order to generate the interest of breast screening, because one of the leading causes of deaths amongst women, not just worldwide, but also in the Caribbean, is breast cancer. And one of the things that you'd want is prevention. Prevention is better than cure. And so if we have that equipment, and even if we don't have persons to read, because now with telemedicine, COVID-19 has brought us into a world of telemedicine where and using technology. So there you are speaking to me overseas. And so same way, we can send our slides or films or x-rays, whatever, to someone who can be able to interpret and to read these and provide the diagnosis that you need. So even if you don't necessarily have the person, but you have somebody who can actually, do
you have a technician.
Right, the technician to do that part, and then you have someone else who can, read the X-ray. So that helps, and so that is where the world is going anyway.
Exactly.
So I see the need. We see the need for having these equipment and items, and we shouldn't say because we are small or the hospital is small, it's not necessary, it's not needed. It is these are equipment that are needed. It prevents me from having to fly out to Antigua. When you do make a trip outside of Montserrat after your diagnosis, it's for the actual treatment. What I don't like is that we send somebody to Antigua to get a scan. The person now has to come back to Montserrat. This is all time wasting. Then fly that person to another country, because if the person needs neurological care, we don't have that in Montserrat. Neither is it provided in Antigua.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it doesn't make sense for me to be sending you to Antigua. You'd have, probably have no choice at this time. And then now have to fly you to say Martinique, Guadeloupe, Barbados, Jamaica, wherever to get that other aspect of the care. So if we have the equipment, then we get our diagnosis and we know exactly, hey, we need to get this person to um, Martinique or Guadeloupe. And Martinique and Guadeloupe, they're only 15, 20 minutes away from Montserrat or
Yeah.
30 minutes. So, within 30 minutes, within this 24-hour period, people can still get the necessary treatment that they deserve.
Yeah.
And that is the reason for Helping Hands with Glendon. We have a bank account at Bank of Montserrat, and we are online, www.helpinghandsforglendon.org. So persons can check us out and see what we are really about. We're also on Facebook and make the contribution and their donation to the cause.
Okay, so I would really just like to repeat that that address. It's www.helpinghandsforglendon.org.
Of course. Or if you just type Helping Hands for Glendon, it will pop up.
Okay.
It will take you to, so you just click on it and
Mm-hmm.
it will take you straight to the address.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get more information on the Bank of Montserrat account,
Mm-hmm.
and also on the GoFundMe account and all of that. And so we purchased our first small equipment. We did make a purchase recently.
Okay.
It's on its way to be shipped to Montserrat. Not sure if it's already been shipped, but if it's not, it should be on its way to Montserrat. And it's a vital signs monitor, but it's a
I'm
small
sorry, what did you buy?
vital signs monitor.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You have vital signs monitor, but
Yeah.
they break down pretty fast, and we always need those. And but it's also in a way to help generate more interest in what we are doing.
Absolutely.
We have raised so far £10,000 between monies being donated on island and through the GoFundMe.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we've been doing pretty well, and we want to continue to do even better this year and the years to come, so that we can purchase those more bigger equipment that we need. The government is doing their part as well, so
Mm-hmm.
but we have to push for what we as a people need, because it's for us. The government may say, "Oh, we don't have enough money for that. We have money for this," but we know as a people what we need as well, and we cannot give up. And even when they're building a new hospital, and you think that there's a part to this, so that we as a people can provide and add to give us the type of care, because the government is giving us a 24-bed hospital. What if we need more? And we're going to say, let the government do it. They can only do so much. But in some countries, they actually take the actual community to build schools and
Absolutely.
hospitals and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So I
So just quickly, and not to get into into politics or anything like that, but since we mentioned 24 beds, is there any particular way those 24 beds are divided?
they are divided because you have, okay, currently we have a maternity unit, we have male and female ward, and we have the emergency department casualty. And so it's going to be divided in a similar way, where you have these areas, also pediatric wing, and you have in the emergency department observation bays. So all of these will take into account the different areas. So it's divided. You have um, areas for the male ward, the female ward, medical, surgical, because currently, even though the St. John's School, which has been turned into a hospital or makeshift hospital, we also divide our areas. So you have the medical side, surgical side.
Okay.
You also have the females and males separate, so they don't mix unless it really comes down to a point that you need an extra bed.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have them divided. You also have the maternity wing, which is separate from the other areas of the hospital. And then you have the operating theater, I think they should be in here for critical care, that kind of stuff. That is how it's worked out. Plus, I think he has room for expansion.
And that was going to be my next question. Yeah.
As you know, our population is at 5,000 currently, but more and more persons are thinking of returning home to Montserrat. Some persons are thinking of returning for maybe 6 months in a year, but if you're in a place for 6 months, you can get sick.
Indeed.
And you may need, you will need treatment, you will need health care, some level of care. So once our population starts growing, then we also need to know that we can provide the care that more people need and good standard and level of care.
That's extremely important. That's extremely important.
That is, yeah, definitely important because you don't want to go to a place and you can't get health care. So you want to be cared for and be cared for in the best possible way. So
Exactly. So, what would you say then is your biggest wish for nursing and nurses in Montserrat going forward?
Well, to keep being motivated, to stay motivated, and also not to settle for less, not to settle for mediocrity.
Uh-huh.
I believe in high standards of achievements and of being able to deliver here. For me, you may ask me, what do I love about nursing? I love helping people.
Okay.
I find that, and that is what I do best. So I get up every day, every morning, and I say to God, please do not give me more than what you and I can handle together.
Okay.
But it's about going there for people because I don't always work in the operating theater. I do surgical clinics, I work in the casualty, the emergency department. But people depend on me. They depend on us for here and for being able to show concern and all of that for them, for their well-being. And so I would want the nurses of Montserrat to have that caring, loving spirit for people and being able always to put yourselves in the position of the patients. Because one day we too
that's huge.
In that position because I've been there. I've been there as a patient on more than one occasion. And at times when my experience has not been good.
Okay.
Even outside of Montserrat has not been. A better experiences though as a patient has been in Montserrat. I must say that. But I always want to know that when persons speak about our nurses, is that they speak good of them, that the care that they get is of a high standard and a high level. That is what I want for us as nurses on Montserrat.
Okay.
And for people, even just because I said to them, there are times when you really can't do much for the patient. You know what the outcome is going to be. But at least as the patients are traveling on the next journey, is that they will feel comfortable, make comfortable as possible. That is what I really want for our nurses and nursing on Montserrat.
Awesome. What do you do to relax and for self-care? How do you take care of Brenda?
Sometimes I really don't do a lot, but there are times when I take the time out. Right now I'm on vacation, and so I use the time to just relax. There are times when I just go outside of my house and reflect, look at the stars, look at I'm in an area called Lookout. And in Lookout, in the night, you can see the sun, the moon rise. I love looking at that. And sometimes I'll go down to Little Bay and just look at the sea, look at the stars coming in, and take in the sunset, There are times when I go walking. I don't do a lot of that, but I need to get back into it. But I do early morning walks, and in that, you take in nature at its best. I able to stop and look around the island and see, hey, Montserrat is really a beautiful place.
It is.
And I would read, and I also go on social media, like go on Facebook and check things out and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Even that in itself brings some level of relaxation for me. So it's a number of things, and I enjoy those things.
Awesome.
Reading,
Good.
going to a concert, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you seem to be doing so much, Brenda, and I do appreciate your time and your expertise and your willingness to share and all of that kind of thing. So I really want to thank you so very much for talking to me today. It's
Yeah.
been an interesting talk. For most of the talk, I could just sit here and go, yeah, 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 because you had so much coming from you, and I could feel your genuineness coming through. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Before I go, I really want to again just say to anyone listening or looking, remember Helping Hands for Glendon. The website is www.helpinghandsforglendon.org. And the fabulous Brenda Daly is the president of that.
Yes, and also
So we hope to
president of
see.
the Montserrat Nurses Association.
Yes.
And so next month coming up, we will be having Nurses Week. And Nurses Week will be beginning, I think, from the 10th of May until I think the 16th of May. So there are persons who have really looked out for nurses, especially recently. So you have Basil and Friends, Basil Chambers, has raised some funds for nurses to make our nurses really feel good. And it was amazing. So Iris Lake and Friends, Iris had and her, her team, we have made it possible for us to have massage therapy, which we need because I'm going to have clients. That's one way of relaxing. And I'm so happy for that, for persons out there who saw the worth of the nurses and have really, so I want to say thank you to those people because they made us feel, appreciated. And the work that we do, is being appreciated by persons within the community because trust me, we need nurses and we
Indeed.
can't do without them. So I just want to say thank you to them. And, when we have our Nurses Week activities, that we will get the support of the public. And thank you for having me to do this because it's good. I think that is good what you are doing in terms of highlighting nurses, not just Montserratian nurses, but nurses
Nurses everywhere.
worldwide. I find that when I listen to them speak, it's really it's heartening. And so I want to thank you for that as well. And
It's my absolute pleasure.
continue to do what you're doing as well.
My pleasure. Brenda, thank you so very much again. So much.
Thank you.
All right. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.